It's fantastic to see all of you here. Thank you for that. I am just going to open here quickly and then we are proceeding. So thank you very much for everybody that is attending today. Karina, you can hear me? Everything is okay from your side?
Yes, Nico, everything's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. So if there's any questions, put it in the chat. And after we are going through the presentation, I will give time to for the questions to be asked and answered. Okay, so welcome here, everybody. We are working with the ISO high-level structure with a practical focus on clause 7.1, the resources that you need to be looking at. So the agenda for today is, as usual, our CREST Advisory Africa, who are we and what is our offerings? Then the understanding of the high-level structure, specifically with clause 7.1, the resources needed to bring about a business, then practical implementation model for clause 7.1, questions and contact CAA. So who are we? So CREST Advisory Africa, and you can see there the 13th of June. We are now 12 years old. Can you believe it? 12 years in the making, and this is where we are. So CREST is contracted with 3 certification bodies. Firstly, we are contracted with the PECB in terms of ISO 17024, and then the MSECB and DQS in terms of ISO 17021-1. So we can certify people as well as we are doing management system certifications globally, everywhere that they are sending us. So CREST Advisory Africa, our offerings, we've got 6 offerings there. So the first one is training. We are conducting training all over ISO. Everything that the PECB, I think the PECB has got about 58, 60 courses there. We are doing most of them. Some that is not inside our scope because we don't have the competency on this side, but we can get it for you. So that is for training. The second one is advisory service. Third one, leadership development. Fourth is auditing services, internal audits, specifically internal audits. This one in preparation for you to do the ISO certification. If you want to use us as the internal auditors, absolutely, we are there for you. Or third-party audits or second-party audits, we are doing that. And then our ISO GRC software that we have developed, that is in, I think we've got about at the moment 12 modules that is out there, that is functioning, that is with clients at the moment, working across the world in terms of risk management software, audit software, compliance management software, document management software, checklist management, know your customer. We've got anti-money laundering as well, business impact analysis, etc. So please go and check on isolytics.com. So that is the website that you can go and check there. Then our international ISO certification audits, as I was alluding to in the previous page, we are doing this for certification bodies and specifically for the MSECB based in Canada and DQS that is locally having an office in South Africa, but they are actually based in Germany. So here we go. So this is our Isolytics system, the whole ecosystem that you can see there. You can go in there with greater depth on the video if you want to go and do that. So everything we are doing there is within the strategy, enterprise risk, compliance, information, etc. We have built this since 2014, and I think we are fairly matured. We are 12 years in there as well. So this is just some of the modules and some detail on the modules itself on the Isolytics GRC ecosystem. So understanding the high-level structure. Now, I just want to explain to everybody again quickly the high-level structure of ISO. The high-level structure is actually in 2015. All the standards that is certifiable, just like ISO 9001, 14045, 18788, 27001, etc. All of them that can be certified has been changed from 2015 to be having the same structure. So you can go and check under clause 4, clause 5, clause 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Everything has got the same structure as all the other standards. So if we are doing combined audits, and we are doing combined audits in terms of 2 standards, 3 standards, some of my clients has got 3 standards, ISO 27001, 42001, that is artificial intelligence, and then business continuity. We are doing those 3 on the high level structure. We are combining the audit there. So instead of you having 3 audits in the year, you've got 1 audit, combined audit. So simple and easy. And then the practical focus, we are going to be speaking about 7.1, resources. Now, I just want to pause there for a moment, resources. Now, if you are thinking, I want to say, put yourself out of your office now at the moment. Put yourself in a sense of, I am creating my own company. What do I need? What do I need to know? So if you are looking at your own company, you are usually thinking about, okay, what kind of services can I put out there? Is there enough customers? Do we have the right services? Do we have what X, Y, and Z? And can we actually serve our customers? So that has to do with clause 4. Because clause 4 is having you understanding the context of your environment, where you are doing it, your external environment, that is the political environment, etc., that is around you, as well as your internal environment. Now, your internal environment has to do with your own governance, your own environment, your own finances, your own relationship with the banks, your own legal environment, your own templates, your own policies, your own procedures. That is for yourself, for your own business. And put yourself out there. All of you are sitting in businesses. I understand that. But you are working for that business, and you must make that business objectives realize. Now, if you are talking about resources, resources is about everything. And this is what we are going to be talking about, because you can appoint people, and you can appoint 10,000 people. Are you going to keep 10,000 people busy? Do you have enough work for the 10,000 people, or for 1,000? Do you have enough finances for the 1,000 people? Do you have enough communication systems like laptops and telephones and all this stuff? Do you have enough infrastructure? And this is what we are talking about, to say, what do you do with your business? In clause 4, we analyze the environment that you are going to be working in. Clause 5, we talked about leadership. And how do you work with, I need to do X, Y, and Z, and this is the roles and responsibilities that we have got. And so how do you do that? Clause 6 is all about planning. And planning is converting what you've got in clause 4 and 5 and putting that into plans. Now, if you look at strategic management, I told you that one of my study directions in my MBA was strategic management. Now, strategic management is all about, what are you going to do with your plans? How do you deploy people? What kind of people do you need? Do you need people, or do you need outsourced people? Do you need people to be in the business or outsourced? So this is where you are converting those plans that you've got into, those planning that you've got into plans. And then clause 7.1 is, what is your resources? And that is the practical question that we are asking. Have you actually provided what is needed to make this management system work? Now, very important question there. It is not always about, give me more people. Nope, it's not about that. I have had a lot of discussions over all these years. People that is working with enterprise risk management or compliance management, and then they are in a fairly big organization and they are 3 or 4 people. And they are saying, but we haven't got enough people. And I say, you do. Because you don't have to implement the risk management. You are facilitating it, because every department in your organization must have risk champions, because they are driving their own objectives. You cannot drive it from the external environment as a chief risk officer or a chief compliance officer. You cannot do that. So you don't have to have 15, 20 to do your work. You must actually scale down to 2 or 3. That's it. Because you must facilitate this going into your business. You must get the energy in your business to actually run for themselves. And you just need to be the director of this choir. So again, have you actually provided what is needed? So what is needed? Do you have money? Yes, I've got money. Do you have this? Yes, I've got that. Do you have facilities? Yes, I've got. So clause 7.1 is where ISO stops tolerating good intentions. Very, very well said there. And starts demanding tangible support. Show me your proof. If you are saying that management in clause 5 is supporting you in leadership, show me your budget. And then people are saying, no, I don't want to show you budget. Show me your budget, man. Come on. We are on the same journey. We are making it better for you. So show me your budget. Maybe I can assist you to direct you better, or having a better understanding of what you need to do. So policies without resources are promises destined to fail, and auditors know it. So we need to have resources. So clause 7.1 requires the organization to determine and provide the resources needed for the establishment, implementation, maintenance, and continual improvement of the management system. Now, guys, I want to give you an example very quickly, because it's very important that you are looking at this. Resources for the establishment, implementation, maintenance, and continual improvement of the management system. Now, I was fortunate, really, I was very fortunate to be part and parcel of a global project in South Africa, the Gautrain project. And in this, we were working with a project management period for 5 to 6 years. And in that project management, we had people that is specifically employed to establish, to recruit people, to get them to be trained, to go out to the sites, to go and do things, to be incorporated, to be implemented, to implement what we are doing. Those people that is actually established the project was the first people to be retrenched, to go out to other projects. Yes, that's it. Or they were moving around from the overall to possibly a site, because this is a 5-year project, and possibly within 3 or 4 years, we are building one section finish, and then we must get them to work on other things within the project itself. So this is where project management is coming in, and you need to have enough resources. Initially, enough resources is meaning that, hell, we need to buy Caterpillar bulldozers and this and drilling machines, etc. You don't buy that in year 3 and 4 anymore. No, you just maintain it. You just maintain it, and you continually improve that. And 2 words matter most here. Firstly, determine. And determine is, what is your plan? What do you need? What do you need? And this asks from you to think deliberately. Think deliberately. One of my friends is a corporate social investment manager for one of our big banks in South Africa. And he has said to me, Nico, I am getting proposals in front of me. I'm sitting through presentations for an hour and people are talking about their plans and plans and plans and plans. They never get to the ask. The question is, what do you ask from me? I'm sitting here, I've got the resources, but I cannot give you any resource. If you didn't think about that, if you didn't deliberately determine that, if you didn't link to my objectives, and the question is, what do you want? What is the ask? And then the question is, can I provide it? So deliberately thinking about, what do you want? Do you want people? Do you want processes? Do you want systems? Do you want technology? What do you want? Tell me. And if you say laptops, what kind of laptop? Be specific, because each laptop or each mouse or each screen or something costs money, and different money for different screens. So ISO is not interested in a wish list. No, it expects evidence that resources are identified, allocated, and sustained. And the biggest question that people are usually failing is, if we are auditing an environment and I'm saying, okay, show me your budget. No, they can show me budget. Show me your asset register, please. No, that is with supply chain. Nope, it cannot be with supply chain. The records could be there, but you are in charge of your own assets. Your own assets of laptops and printers and all these things. You are in charge of your people. You are in charge of vehicles. You are in charge of facilities. You are in charge of communication. You are in charge of cell phones. That is allocated to you. Explain it. Show me your asset register. So, what is meant by resources? Everything. So, if we're talking about people, yes, do we have sufficient people? And how did you determine that? You must show me the methodology of how did you determine that. I cannot just say, no, I've got there an office, I need 10 people there. 10 people to do what? No, I don't know, but there needs to be 10 people there. No, it's not about that. Are they having the appropriate skills? And are they available? Are they available? Are you working 24/7? Are you working 8-hour shifts? Are you working 12-hour shifts? Are you working only during the day? Are you working over weekends? How are people structured to be available? Secondly, infrastructure. Infrastructure is buildings, facilities, utilities, networks, all those stuff. The question is, if I'm asking Mary or Magezi or Caroline, Caroline will tell me utilities and networks. That is what she's got. But possibly, if I'm Caroline, please don't take offense here. If I'm asking her buildings and facilities, she's going to say, but no, I'm not the maintenance manager. Ah, what are you working with? Number 3 there, technology. Technology is systems and tools and platforms and automation and artificial intelligence. Hell, technology is so big nowadays that it is as big, if not bigger, than people. And technology, I need to know where's your licenses. Where's your license for that technology? I've got a license for Sage. I've got a license for many systems, from Azure to many systems. And the question is, where's your license? Do you have a license? And are your licenses intact? Show me your list of your licenses. And this links back to your internal and external context analysis that I was talking about a few weeks ago. And then 4, financial resources, money. Go let the world goes around. So finances, budgets, funding approvals, project proposals. What do you want to do? Ongoing operational spend. Yes, just remember, financials has got always CAPEX and OPEX. CAPEX is easy because it is a once-off thing. But what is the impact of that CAPEX into your OPEX, into your operational spend? every year. Like your licenses, it's every year. It is not a once-off buy, it's every year. Laptops is every 3 years possibly, or 4 years, when it is actually going out of the financial depreciation process. And then supporting services. What is your outsourced services? Just remember, those are your resources. Those are your resources. You cannot tell me, Nico, I am in charge of this department, but you know what? We are sitting with service level agreements that is sitting there with supply chain. No. Who has asked for that to be implemented? You. Did you do the funding proposal there? Did you ask for this outsourcing services? If it's you, you need to manage it. You cannot stand away from it. External expertise, yes. Suppliers and partners, absolutely. This we will speak in clause 8 about in business impact analysis, because all of these are going to be impacting your business. If you don't have it, or if it has got a breakdown on any of these, it is going to have an impact on your business, on you delivering your mandate. If it enables the management system, then it is clause 7.1, your resources. Now, if we're looking at, is it risk-driven? Now, clause 7.1 does not exist in isolation, not at all. I was linking for you already to clause 4.1 and 4.2 and etc. And here it is actually explained to us that the input is the context and issues. That is in clause 4.1. Your stakeholders in 4.2. Stakeholders, let me just give you an example. Now that I'm seeing Magezi there. We were, myself, Magezi, and the whole management team of the company that he's working with, when we started up Bombela Operating Company, we were sitting with stakeholders from taxi organizations that is influencing our bus routes, from really and taxi associations that is part and parcel of our feeder system from the different environments, and they needed to get permits. They were our stakeholders, but also the Department of Transport, the government Department of Transport. So we were the conduit between the Department of Transport, the taxi owners, the discussions, our routes, our customers, our service environment, stakeholders. Now, for each of those meetings, I need to travel there. I need to go and sit there. Now, my cost per hour is X, Y, and Z in that business. Okay? Magezi is there as well. Somebody else is there as well. So three of our resources are driving there. 3 of our resources are sitting there for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours per week or per second week. That is costing. That is money, because that should have been done somewhere else. Your scope, your risk and opportunities, everything. If you are talking about risk and opportunities, you need to have some kind of risk officer or risk manager that can actually coordinate everything here, that can work on Excel if you're working with Excel, or that you are buying a system that you can actually do this. Objectives, plan changes, and auditors often ask, how did you decide these resources were sufficient? Very important there. No, I just need 2. Number, are you sure about that? Yes, only 2. I've got 1 position there and 1 position there. Okay, fine. Are they working 24 hours a day? Yes, we've got 3 shifts. I've got 2 people. Now, doesn't that mean if you're working 8-hour shifts that you've got 6 people that you need to budget for? Now, if you are starting doing this and you are starting to analyze, and people cannot explain to you, my goodness, it is the biggest slap in the face for that person itself, because you are actually failing yourself. You didn't think. You didn't deliberately, that one there, think and determine. You didn't. So if the answer does not link back to risks or objectives, 7.1 is weak. Now, the practical example in action. We are talking here about, let's start with ISO 27001. For people that don't know, 27001, that is information security. That's actually the information security management system. Just like ISO 9000 is quality management, this has to do with information security. So there's your risk increase in cyber threats. Your objectives in 6.2 is reduce the security incidents by 40%, and then your resources. You need people, you need technology, you need finances, you need services. In security analysts, in platforms, in approved budget, and then auditors expect to see decision rationale. How did you make that decision? What was your proposal? Why did you ask for 2 people and 3 people and not 15 or 16? Or why did you ask for 15 and 16 and not for 2? And evidence of allocation. What is the evidence of that? And we will speak about that in clause 8.1. How are you working on a day-to-day basis with your people? And that is what we're talking about there. Evidence of allocation. That person is working, in Magesi's case, there are 10 stations, there are 3 depots, there is an alignment there of 80 kilometers. How did you align that, let's say 340 people or 350 people, and what is your evidence of allocation? Where did you post them? What are they doing every day? And then ongoing availability. Very important there, because people need to take leave. People are sick. So are they available or not? And if you have asked for 10 people to be there, there need to be 10 people posted. You cannot work with 6 people. Then if you can work with 6 people, you only need 6 people. In this one here, all of you know that I was in the police service, and the police station that I started at in 1998. When I arrived there was about 370 people working there. When I go and look at what is the allocation of people, this one here, and the evidence of that, 40% was off sick. 40, not 4, 40. And my question is, how did this happen? How can 40% of your people not be here? Then I would rather work without that 40%. And that was my objective. I would rather work with people that want to work than with people that is always off sick or moaning and groaning and etc. Thank you. I don't need that negativity, really. And in my own business, I am a flat structure. I don't have a structure I would rather have consultants that I can bring in on a project basis, project by project basis, and that's it. I don't need to manage 10, 15 people. So resources versus competence. Oi, oi, oi. Super, super important. You can have a body there, but is that body competent? No, it is just a body. Okay, then I can go to Edgar's or True's and I can get one of those mannequins and put it there, just a body. So clause 7.1 is about availability, and 7.2 is about competence. So a common ISO failure is hiring people and not ensuring competence. And this is in competence what we are looking at, and we will address it next time with skills audit and all those kind of things. And this is where you are sitting with people and you don't grow them. You are sitting with people, the expectations for your environment are growing, but your people are not growing with it. And people are saying, oh, we don't have money for training. Nonsense. Every government in the world and every environment in the world is making provisions for competent people. They are making provisions for there must be training. In South African context, there's a skills development levy that we are paying. I'm paying 1%, and as the employer and you as the employee is paying 1%. So that means I have got a vested interest in my training, in my competence, in everything that is done there. I need to develop. Yes, I need to be competent, and I need to grow into this business. So clause 7.1 ensures the the capacity exists, and 7.2 ensures that you are capable. Are you capable? Are you fit for purpose? Are you fit for the job? Are you fit for your environment? Can you do the job? Can you understand the job itself? And I will speak about it in 2 weeks with our 7.2 incompetence, not incompetence, with competence, sorry. So outsourced resources are still your responsibility. Very important. This is what I was talking about there, that one there at the bottom. Outsourced resources. You made the choice. ISO is clear. Outsourcing does not remove accountability. I want to see the contract. I want to see the invoices. I want to see who signed it off. I want to see the performance meetings. I want to see how are you growing better? How are you growing with your outsourced partner? Just remember that outsourced partner has got a different object for him in his business. But now they are giving you in your business resources. So somewhere you need to either lift those people up or they need to develop themselves. So if you rely on cloud providers, managed services, consultants, then clause 7.1 requires defined expectations. As I said, I want to see your contract. I want to see your terms and conditions. Defined expectations, sufficient capacity. Do you have enough people to actually serve me? Oversight mechanisms. What is your oversight mechanisms? What is your performance management? What is your governance to make sure that what you are doing is consistently doing the same thing over and over and over, and that you are growing in terms of quality and not quantity? And auditors will test how you ensure outsourced resources remain effective. Please make sure that your outsourced guys. One of my customers has got a service center that is servicing them, and these guys brought them, the supplier brought the client a contract to say, sign this. I said, no, you cannot do that. You as the client know what you need. You need to make sure that service provider is aligned with your objectives, your expectations, your things. You need to stay in charge, because the moment that you sign that other document, they are in charge. You are not in charge. They are in charge. So outsource resources is still your resources. You are spending money and time in meetings and management and oversight with them. So please manage them. They are an extension of your arm. Otherwise, you need to actually go and say, leave those guys. What is it going to cost us to do it ourselves? Was that not the decision that was made initially to go and outsource? I think so. I think so. It is usually people that is focusing on specific things like security and environmental things. Environmental things are expert. That is expert things that you need to be looking at, or expert services. And that is why consultants need to answer to you, because they need to answer to the environmental act that is there, the compliance, the S&D Act that is there. So very important that you are looking at that. And evidence that auditors commonly look for. So firstly, auditors commonly look for approved budgets, your resource plans, your business cases, your contracts and SLAs, your staffing plans. Very important. Capacity planning documents, management review minutes, risk treatment plans. Absolutely, we need to see how are you managing the risk. And everything of these are going back to your risk management in 6.1. Everything. And auditors rarely accept, we would provide resources if needed. No, 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 no. Does not work like that. You need to have a plan, because 7.1 and 8.1 talk to each other. It is too vague and non-committal. It is non-verifiable or reliable and does not demonstrate actual availability nor leadership. And show the evidence, demonstrate availability, and prove commitment. That is all that we want. Auditors are actually very, very simple guys and girls. We don't ask difficult questions. Look there, there's the questions. You've got the answers. I don't have the answers. So you've got the answers. It is your test. So we are just asking those things. Please show it to me. Common audit findings for clause 7.1. So the common issues is objectives without resourcing. Yes, we want to do A, B, and C and X, Y, and Z, but we don't have resources for X, Y, and Z, not even for D, E, and F. Risk treatment is unfunded. If it's not funded, it is not in your plans. If it's not funded, it is not supporting your objectives. Reliance on single individuals. Oi, oi, oi. We will get to this in business impact analysis. So reliance on single individuals. They call that single point of failures. Yes, I've got a person there. And if that person goes, I'm dead. Nobody can do that. Nobody can do that. It's going to take me 3, 4, 5 months, 3 months to appoint a person first. And then 6 months to determine, does this person has what it takes? And does that person want to work with us? Overdependence on consultants. As a consultant myself, I would say, depend on me, it's not a problem. But if you're looking at businesses, you cannot always work with consultants. There must be skills transfer, really. There must be taking over of that, going into that. One of my clients, I went for their audit, a recertification audit. When I got there, the company that was about 40, 50 people was sitting, the representatives of the company were 3 people, and there were 3 consultants. And when you audit, you never allow consultants to do anything during an audit. They can only observe. That's it. And when I started to ask these kind of questions, the consultants were starting to answer. And I said, nope, thank you. You don't answer. I want it from the company. The company couldn't answer because they did not implement the management system. The consultants did. Now that they don't know, and this went already for 3 years. It was in their 4th year that I came there, and I said, thank you, the consultants, you can excuse us. I'm having this audit with the company. And there was trouble. Really, the company didn't get certified. So overdependence on consultants. There must be skills transfer. Resources identified but not sustained. Yes, we've got a resource list of so much, but we are only employing 10% of them. And what auditors like to see: resources linked to risks and objectives, budgets approved and tracked, adequate staffing levels, technology fit for purpose. This is what we spoke about earlier with people as well. People fit for purpose, technology fit for purpose, your everything fit for purpose, and external resources are controlled, and well-aligned resources, stronger performance, and confident compliance. So practical implementation, I think we've got 5 steps here. So we are here on 1441. So we've got 20 minutes. So firstly, your risk register. Please have it available. And if you want to link something to your risk register because there is a risk, yes, link it. Link it. Use that as your resource determination. Objectives register. What is your objectives and what do you need this to be mapped? How do you map it? Really, how do you map it? I just want to open while we are, sorry guys, while we are doing this, I just want to open for us quickly. That's it. I will speak about that now that we are, I'm saying we must map it. We will do it. Change plans. So plan and manage changes that require resources for successful implementation. And use these key registers and plans to identify what resources are needed to achieve the objectives and manage the risks effectively. Step 2 is classify your resource types. We have got a methodology, Crest, the company that is here on the right-hand corner, that we are speaking about. Let me show it to you. That we are speaking about the GP2ST2. So it's actually P square ST square. We have just added this one now, governance, because of King 5. So King 5, for people that doesn't know it, it is a governance document that is being published here in South Africa every 4 to 5 years. So governance, what do you have in your governance? What resources do you have there? Delegations of authorities, etc. Under your people, what kind of people and what is your processes there with people, your resources, with processes? What is your documents, your master list of documents that you are having and that you are keeping up to date? All of those. Your systems. List your systems. What is your systems that you've got? Financial systems. You've got human resource systems. You've got enterprise resourcing and planning systems. You've got various systems. Point of sale, it depends on what is in your company and what is not. Tools. What is your tools and equipment and facilities? So buildings, vehicles, machinery, equipment. What kind of equipment do you need there? What kind of servers do you need there? What is your laptops and things that you need there? Your furniture, your utilities, everything that you need there. How are you showing me this? How do you explain to me this? Nico, I've got control over my environment. Technology, CCTVs, drones, everything, AI, everything that you can think of, APIs. I want to see, especially with artificial intelligence and with ISO 27001, what is the APIs and how do you link into your reporting systems? So all of these are mapping your environment. Map it. So our methodology, P square ST square, is speaking about this, and then put governance as well there. Your people, what is your, and actually this is linked to your controls, because you appoint a person to control something, isn't it? Yes. You deploy technology to enable something, but also to have control over that. Your finances. Yes. Financial resources required to plan, operate, and sustain the organization. Services is internal and external services and expertise to support there. So go and list. Guys, this is really, it's a fantastic exercise if you are doing this. And you can see that Xmind that I just showed you, that is super, super impressive, especially for auditors. When we come in there and you can show us, look there, we have mapped this. That thing there, that is working in that environment. It is working there. That system is working there, but it is also working there and there and there. Show me the cross section and show me what have you done with it. Then step 3, allocate and approve. So match the approval level to risk criticality. Oi, oi, oi. Please, if you've got a control effectiveness rating of 90 or 100%, to impress somebody, to say that you've got 90% control or 100% control of that, I am going to ask you, how many of your resources do you take away there? Because you've got risks that is on a 40% or 50% or 60%. Now you're sitting with one objective or one risk that has got 100% resources and control over. Take it away, move it somewhere else based on your criticality. And this is also aligned with your internal in your your internal control effectiveness, your ICE rating. So go and look at your risk criticality. We have spoken about this, I think 3 sessions back. Where are you placing your money? It doesn't help you to go and over-resource a low impact on objectives. No, man, come on. Look at your reds. Get rid of your reds. Be simple. Get rid of your reds. Then get rid of your oranges. Then get rid of your yellows or your mustards. What you've got there doesn't matter. But get rid of those. Let everything be on the low level, and then you have time to actually work with everything. Because all of these things, critical high, steals your time. I can guarantee you that. I've got experience of it as well. So required approval level. So who is approving that? Who can mix around people from one place to another place to ensure that the risk that we are having at this site B or the department B is actually addressed? So the right resources, right level, and the right approval ensures that accountability, control, and alignment with organizational goals. So allocate and approve there. The fourth one is monitor adequacy. Oi. So are these resources still sufficient? I want to tell you quickly. I've got a guest house, and at the guest house, I've got people working there, employees, and I was saying to my manager there, Comfort, I want you to review, do we need so many resources? Because people are working 2 shifts or 2 people per shift. And the question is, do we need 2 people a shift or 1 person a shift? His answer to me was, what is the budget? So, you don't have a budget. So he wanted to negotiate now with everyone there to say, okay, we need to be scaling down, but your money is going to be staying the same. It's not about that. It is about, what do you need? Are your resources still sufficient? So firstly, people, do you need so many people there? With the right skills and the capacity, the technology, the same. Services, the right support and expertise, absolutely. Finances, the right funding and resources. And you need to be stay aligned, stay effective, stay resilient. Resilient is bouncing back. How do you bounce back? That is survival. And stay accountable, always. Demonstrate oversight and responsibility. And review, validate, and adapt. Regularly monitoring your resources adequacy to ensure the continued success. And then adjust when needed. So if there's something that is happening in your performance indicators, in your reviews, in incidents, in your responses, go and determine, do I need people there? Do the people that I have there have the correct competencies? Can they do what they need to do? Do they need training? How can I assist them? FNB has got a very nice slogan. I think it is still, how can I help you? How can I help you? How can I help you, my employee, to be a better employee? How can I help you with training to be better equipped? What kind of resources do you need that I can assist you? You have got the wish, you've got the ideas, show it to me, and I will see what can we do. So if there's performance drop, or if there's a scope change, or your risks are increasing or decreasing, it's not always increasing or decreasing, that you are reviewing that, because you can take resources away. And be proactive, stay agile, and continuously optimize. Absolutely, continuously optimize. You always need to think, just like what this ref counter is doing here. If you're looking at stress is working exactly the same here. Your green is people doesn't have enough challenges. They are actually coming to work just to be sitting at work. Between these two, this is actually your sweet spot where you need to actually make sure people are working within. Do they have enough stress that they don't burn out? Yes. So they need to actually work there to there. If you look at this at 180 degrees, that is about 70 to 110. And everything else, if you're on 170, 160 degrees, it is just like a car. You are going to burn out. So you need to manage your people the same as you are managing everything else. And you can see that in your performance. So integrated management system, the ISMS2. If you want the ISMS2, please write us an email and we will send it to you. That is the Integrated Management System 2 of the PECB, the Professional Evaluation Certification Board. We've got a whole document on it. It's a beautiful explanation on what do you need to do, especially in this high-level structure of ISO. So one of the biggest advantages of the HLS is shared resources. Yes, multiple standards that it is supporting. So you can have any standard. I have spoken about this in the beginning as well. From 9001 to 27,000, and everyone has got resources. Everyone has got competencies. Everyone has got risk management. Everyone has got a scope. Everyone has got internal, external context analysis and performance. So you don't need to have a separate structure and silos for everything else. Nope, absolutely not. So 7.1 enables efficiency without dilution. It must be efficient. It must save you money. So the strategic value of TOL 7.1 is firstly, if this is implemented correctly, converts strategy into capability, prevents system failure due to under-resourcing, improves resilience, strengthens audit confidence, and demonstrates leadership commitment in action. And in mature organizations, clause 7.1 is treated as a governance investment decision, not an operational cost. That is a different way of looking at it. It is my investment with our training, internal audit, etc. We are always writing at our pricing, what is the investment that you are going to make here for our client? Because you are investing on my internal audit or external audit for you to have certification. So the cost of this investment is so much. So closing thought. Clause 7.1 quietly enforces one of the ISO's most powerful principles. You cannot demand outcomes without enabling means. You cannot do that. If you don't have people, you cannot shout at people. If you don't have systems, you cannot pass out passwords for systems. If you don't have facilities, you don't need to appoint a facility manager, really. If you don't have the means for it, don't have it. ISO does not ask for perfection. It asks for adequacy, sustainability, and intent backed by action. And my friends, that is what I'm leaving you with. To say that go and sit and work with what you've got. Go and map it. Really. I have showed you XMind. Go and look at XMind. It is a free system. Really, it's a free system. You don't get it. XMind 8. Go and search for it. You spell it X like in X, MIND 8, like in the number 8. And sign up for it. Get it. It's a fantastic system. I've been working with it for the last 12, 13 years. So really, it is working for me, and it is assisting me having a strategic view and vision of what I'm doing. So on that note, Karina, are there any questions?
Hi, Nico, no questions.
Okay. Hi, you guys. You are not. There's a question.
Nokutula. Sorry,
Nokutula.
Niku. Yes.
Hi, Nico. Thank you so
Hello,
much for
Nokutula.
that very informative presentation. I heard you mention about XMind 8.
Yes.
Are you using the free version?
I am not using the free version. I am
Okay.
using the version that you are paying, and the purpose for that, Noctula, is that
Yes.
I can take this, what I've written here, and I can export it into Word format. You can see there. Finish.
Okay.
And so I'm working on one document, and it takes me to Word, it takes me to Excel, to PowerPoint, and you can see there, from that point, I've got a Word document, and there's my whole process, and everything that I have explained, there's everything documented.
Okay.
And this is super. And if I want to do it too, so I am using this specifically for I'm not going to, it is going to take time now. So the XMind 8, and I'm just going to show you again there. It is XMind 8.
Okay.
So XMind 8, you can go and check there. And really, guys, XMind, go and download the mapping. And for you to use it now, is mahala. Cost you nothing. If you want to download it, there's it. Really, there's it. So you can download it for Mac, for Linux, for Windows, everything there. It's mahala. If you want to sign up, I think it is costing something like $3 a month. Really. It is
Okay.
not money. Really. For this strength of a system, I will really have a separate webinar just on XMind 8 and the power of it. But it is superb. Really. Get it. It is $3 a month. That's a good question. Thank you.
Thank you, Nico. I think my last question would be whether or not you're going to share the PowerPoint presentation after this.
Yes. I will share it. As well as you will get your certificates just after this. You will get your certificates. I will also download the whole presentation, and we will post it on YouTube, and we will send through all the communication about this, that it is available there. All right.
Thank you, Nico.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have more questions, then I want to say thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And I'm always trying to be within my hour, and I've got my hour on the dot here. So have a super Thursday and enjoy the weekend. Bafana has won. Ha ha ha. Cheerios. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.